Hello, everyone. This is Pastor Christine Desiree, and the topic for today is how to beat stagnation or how to beat complacency. We're going to be reading from Deuteronomy chapter 1, verses 6 through 8. And after we finish this podcast, I really believe that you are going to feel motivated to do the things that you've always wanted to do. We all have things that we want to do, that we are passionate about doing, but sometimes we get stuck and we need that extra push. So that's what this podcast is about today. We all know life can throw us curveballs. That certainly happened to me at the end of November in 2022. I found out that my father had terminal cancer, and within 7 weeks, my father was gone. So, end of November, we find out that he had terminal cancer. We didn't know at all, and then within 7 weeks, my father was gone. That was a major curveball in my life. So all of us have been there. We've all had those kind of experiences, but life goes beyond that. But sometimes we hold ourselves hostage, and that's what I did. I held myself hostage because I felt like I had an excuse. I have an excuse to not doing the things that I want to do because I am grieving. I have an excuse because I am the first child and I am the eldest and I have so much responsibility on me. I have the excuse for not doing this podcast and not doing some other things that I needed to do because now I have inherited a church and I'm responsible for this ministry. So I had a lot of excuses, and so we hold ourselves hostage because of the circumstances that we go through. And then what happens after that? We lose our motivation and eventually get stuck. And then we don't know how to get out of that place. And that's what happened to me. I lost my motivation because of grief, because of the excuses, because of the circumstances. And then when the motivation started coming back, then it was like, what am I going to do now? How am I going to get myself out of this system of stagnation that I have been in? And then ended up just remaining there for months and months and months. In Deuteronomy chapter 1, verses 6 through 8, it reads, "The Lord our God said to us in Horeb, 'You have stayed long enough at this mountain. Turn and take your journey and go to the hill country as far as the great river. See, I have set the land before you. Go in and take possession of the land that the Lord swore to your father, to Abraham, to Isaac, to Jacob, to give to them and their offspring after them.'" So God is saying something to you today. He is saying something to you this morning. You have stayed long enough in this place. You have stayed long enough in the place of stagnation. You have stayed long enough in the place of complacency. You have stayed long enough at that mountain. And he is saying to you today that you need to get up. You need to shake yourself off and go and get what he has for you. That's what I heard the voice of the Lord saying to me. I had to get up. I had to shake myself off and go and get what the Lord had for me. I am very passionate about doing this podcast, but as soon as I began and started and launched this podcast, there were attacks after attacks after attack, and not little ones, major attacks that came to stop me from doing this podcast. And so I had to make a decision. I had to stop. I had to stop it right there and arrest those things. And I had to get up and shake myself off and stop the excuses, go and get what God has for me. And what God has for you is great. What God has for you is beyond your wildest imagination. What God has for you is marvelous, but you have to get up and you have to go after it. You have to possess it. You have to take it. He says in your scripture here, turn and take your journey. Turn, get out of your situation, change directions, change course, and go after the things that I have for you. So over the next 2 episodes, I'm going to be sharing with you some strategies that I use to help beat stagnation in my life. I'm going to be giving you some tools and some simple tips on how to beat complacency and how to get up and go after those things that you want to do in life. Thank you for joining me today on this podcast episode. If you would like more information about me and about our ministry, you can go to www.pastorchristinedesiree.com. www.pastorchristinedesiree.com. We also have a church now, and you are free to go and visit our church website at www.triumphcitychurch.com. That's www.triumphcitychurch.com. If you don't have a local church and you are in the city of Tulsa, Oklahoma, you are free to come and worship with us and join us. We will love for you to come and visit with us. And also, I want to mention that we have a Facebook group and we have a Facebook page that you can follow us, and we have a page also on Instagram. As the podcast keeps developing and I get more information out here and I get more content out here to you, I'll be putting some stuff, and saying some things to you at the end of the podcast where you can go. But definitely look in the show notes and you can see the links for everything that I've said to you. Look forward to seeing everybody on the next podcast episode.